Meantime, the city of Vista is planning for a non-congregate shelter to address homelessness. Joining us now with more on all of this is Vista Mayor John Frank. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Non-congregate, that means smaller, maybe one or two people in one facility versus these large kind of areas where there's maybe 50 or more with a lot of bunk beds.
Yeah, that's right. Most of the shelter facilities, the emergency shelter facilities we have as many as 50 bunk beds in one room. It's a big kind of a squad bay type concept, and that's been the prevailing model for emergency shelter up until now. Vista is one of two agencies, and this program that we have in Vista is a partnership between the city of Encinitas and Vista to build the non-congregate facility. It's 4 6-bedroom apartments. These 6-bedroom apartments have 2 full bathrooms and 1 full kitchen. So it provides a sort of a group home environment for people that we're trying to get off the streets. And we've had a lot of success getting people off the streets, but we need to have even more, because as we were talking about earlier, in over 5,000 conversations that we've had with our unsheltered population, the acceptance rate for shelter is 6%. So we need to get that number up, and we need to do more to make sure that we have a place for people to go when they do say yes.
And is one of the complaints that somebody doesn't want to go to one of these large halls where they're in there with so many people? And if you say, hey, listen, I've got a small place where you and your husband or wife can go, or just you alone, now all of a sudden it's nice and private, and maybe they're not as scared.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big issue. We see a lot of couples that are homeless and families, and they want to be sheltered together. Some of the facilities are only men or only women, or the men and women may be in different areas and they're not allowed to cohabitate. So we're trying to solve all of the problems that inhibit people from saying yes. KUSI also reported recently on our contract that we had to amend with our North County shelter providers because we were being turned away. In Vista, we're treating this like an emergency to get this shelter up and running, because we need to make sure with our 9-member homeless outreach team that when they're offering shelter and folks say yes, we want to make sure that we keep our promise for them to have a place to go.
So where will this shelter be? How long will it take to build and things like that?
So it's just south of the city limits. It's still a Vista address, but it's just south of the city limits. It's very close to the city, and really part of the neighborhood where we have a large population of homeless persons. Is very close to a Sprinter station and a bus station, so there's transit access, and we're hopeful that this new model will be a success. It's a 3-year pilot program, and we're going to, and I think this is super important, because it is experimental, we're going to pay close attention to the data, we're going to collect a lot of data, and we're going to be transparent and open to the public about whether or not our model is successful. If it is, we'll look to continue it permanently. If it's not, then we'll try something else.
How many people will it hold once it's completed?
As many as 48.
Okay, a good start, but you probably need more than that.
We do. We have a countywide shelter crisis right now. We have a shortage. Almost every bed in the county is full at this moment, and so that's one of the other reasons why we want to get this going by the end of the year is our target, and we think we're going to be able to do it. I toured today the facility. It's being rehabbed by its owner. We're going to lease it once it's up to spec as far as new carpet, new paint, all of the things brought up to code and fresh and bright. And we want a place that you'd be proud to spend a night if we were going to put you there.
Sure. How much does something like this cost?
Well, it's $5 million is the total expenditure over a period of 3 years. And we've got a partnership, and Senator Catherine Blakespear has delivered that money, $5 million, from the state of California. And we're providing the manpower and the know-how, and like I said, in collaboration with the city of Encinitas. So we're hopeful for something very successful.
What's the idea? Let's say you've got it built and then somebody needs it and they accept it. Can they just stay there essentially indefinitely?
No.
How does that work? Because you want to get them on their feet. You want to help them out, but you also want to help somebody else out.
No, that's a great question. The emergency shelters typically, and we're working out, we have what's called a request for proposal right now from shelter operators, and we're looking at different models, but typically in an emergency shelter, it's a 30-day stay. We're calling it the Buena Creek Navigation Center as a working title. Our goal is to help those people who are willing to work to be permanently housed. That is the issue. Those individuals who are making clear progress with a caseworker to become permanently housed, they're recovering their personal identification, driver's license, they're getting reconnected with their benefits that they're entitled to, might be disability or Social Security, and they're doing those necessary things to be permanently rehoused. Those people, if they need a little bit bit more than 30 days and they're working and demonstrating their desire to be housed, they may get a little bit more time if needed. But those individuals who are not trying to be housed, it's not intended to be a place for. It's not a flop house. It's not for people to go and exist. It's not a housing program. It's an emergency bridge shelter, and it's really important that people understand the difference between those two. And the last thing I want to share with you is in Vista, in the last year, we've made a big difference in our unsheltered encampment population. We've been working very hard to continue to use enforcement. We're providing with that left hand all of the services that somebody might need, but with the right hand, we're enforcing the laws in the city. And we want to make sure that everybody understands that the promise is a good promise to make sure there's a safe, clean place for you to go if you're willing to say yes. And we will help you get into permanent housing, but we're not going to allow you to live on the streets indefinitely, nor should we, because it's not the moral thing to do. So we're going to enforce our laws and we're going to clean up our streets, but we're also going to provide the services if people will just say yes.
Sure. Mr. Mayor John Franklin.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.